And Liam, we've been totting up these figures for a while. They're pretty frightening. People can sort of frighten themselves now, it seems.
Yeah, so the ONS, the Office for National Statistics, it's not an app, it's just on their website.
OK, right.
If you just use a search engine, shopping price and comparison tool, ONS, then you'll find it. I must say, I think the ONS have done a good job. They obviously regularly release inflation data and food price inflation data. As I reported here, just a couple of weeks ago, food price inflation in March compared to March 2022 was up 19.1%.
Yeah, and the food figures rising far bigger, faster rather than the overall inflation.
In general inflation, sort of 10%.
Yeah.
Food going up almost twice as fast, even though wholesale food prices are coming down. And I find that very, very troubling. But what the ONS have done now, they've kind of lifted the lid on their vast database of individually priced products on average across the economy. And we can have a look at some of the more eye-popping numbers now. A sliced white loaf up 29% from March 2022 to March 2023. Butter up 30%. Baked beans up 39%. Though some things, prices aren't rising as quickly. Baking potatoes up 6%. So there's a bargain for a cheap meal. Bung a couple of baked potatoes in the oven.
But don't put the baked beans in it.
But no butter. Right, a bit of salt and pepper maybe. And I've got some more here, Mark. Chicken nuggets, frozen chicken nuggets, up 35%. Cheddar cheese up 42%. These are absolutely huge numbers. And, of course, because poorer households, they spend more on food than other households disproportionately. Inflation for them is much, much, much higher than this 10% headline number.
Yeah, and these are staple items for families trying to feed the kids. You know, baked beans on toast, you think, for tea would be a cheap, reasonable meal. Yeah. But, you know, in terms of the household spending, having a real hit. And you've got some more figures indicating that, you know, people are trying to be as canny as they can, but the supermarkets also with these promotional deals to encourage people.
Yeah, so what the supermarkets are doing is they are trying to say it's not our fault food prices are rising so much. You know, the cost of packaging has gone up, the cost of food transport has gone up, the cost of labour to prepare that food has gone up. But wholesale food prices have been falling for 12 months in a row. So, again, I fail to understand where this extent of price rises are coming. And another part of the supermarket's defence is that they've put lots of promotions on. So ways of getting us through the door with cheaper items. So then we do all our shopping in the supermarkets. Here's some numbers from Nielsen IQ, a very well-respected consultancy. So promotional spending, the amount of money that we're spending on supermarket promotions is the highest since December 2020. 23% of everything that we spend in supermarkets now, well, certainly during April, was on supermarkets promotions. 27% of purchases of meat, fish and poultry, and 51% of branded alcohol sales. So the supermarkets will say, people were clearly looking for a bargain, not least when it comes to meat, fish, and certainly if they want a few beers. A lot of people
celebrate for the coronation,
ahead of the coronation. So promotional spending is up, but the supermarkets deny this. They're not here to defend themselves. But again, Mark, I can't understand how they can continue to justify food price inflation that's almost double headline inflation.
And that's entering the political arena now, because you've got Sir Ed Davey of Liberal Democrats.
Finally, the politicians have noticed.
Saying, look,
we've been saying this for months.
I know. I mean, he's not directly saying that they are profiteering, but he's saying basically there should be an investigation to find out what is happening, and he wants this Competitions and Markets Authority to investigate as to whether they are loading the prices, or even profiteering, which is another sort of quite loaded term.
Indeed. So, look, there is quite a lot of competition between the supermarkets on certain products. The loss leaders, as I said, the things to get you through the door.
Yeah.
Whether the CMA, the Competition and Markets Authority, the old OFT, will want to look at this, I don't know, because in the end there'll be lots of competition, but it will be certain products where there isn't lots of competition. It'll be very hard for them to really drill down into the complex food supply chain.
And sort of like to like, if you like.
What I think the Prime Minister should do, the government should do, as I've said many times, it should publicly ask the supermarkets, get them into Downing Street, the bosses of the supermarkets, and get them to explain. A lot of farmers will be listening to GB News, watching us on television, having this conversation, Mark, and they will be screaming at the television because a lot of farmers will say that the supermarkets give them a tough deal. They can't speak out because they'd lose their biggest customer. So the supermarkets are maintaining their margins not only through higher prices, but also by squeezing farmers.
Yeah. But very quickly, we do know that people are voting with their feet and they're going to the cheaper suppliers. They see, the Aldis and Lidls.
That's been a major trend. Of course, Tesco is still the biggest food retailer, the biggest retailer, one of the biggest employers in the UK, and Sainsbury's too. But they've been losing market share to the Aldis and the Lidls, as has Waitrose, of course, which is at the higher end of the income spectrum.
OK, well, thanks for taking us shopping. But as you say, that's on their website, ONS website, and then you can use the tool there.
Well worth looking at.
Thank you very much indeed.